Dude, what a morning.
Unbelievable morning. Never would have thought I would have done what I did this morning.
Talk to me, Goose. Talk about it.
All right, Mav.
Man, I am just still, it just started the day. I mean, wind at my back to say the least, but what an incredible experience. I took the day off because I didn't know how long this activity was going to take us today. We weren't planning on recording this, but after the day we had to bring this topic to life, and shout out to Ryan Strand, friend of the pod, Taking Flight episode, one of the earlier guest episodes. But dude, I've been on fire today. And we kind of kicked it off together, sat next to each other during flight school this morning. And why don't you tell the listeners what we were up to?
Yeah, it was really cool. So this morning we went over to the Scottsdale Air Park. We got a buddy who's part of our Junto group, Ryan Strand, owner of FlightWorks at Astra, private charter, Cirrus planes, prop jets. And it was unbelievable. His hangar just hanging out, right? We've done some events there and all that stuff. Well, this time, we actually got to fly the planes with his pilots. And it wasn't just like get in the plane and cruise around. Like these guys let us actually fly the plane. And this is what we were being told. Like, hey, you're going to fly the plane. You're going to land the plane. You're going to take off. And I'm like, I have no idea what to expect here. I've never been in a situation like this at all. And we knew this was coming like 30 days in advance. But we show up and it's like pouring rain. I'm leaving in the dark, leaving the house. And I'm like, there's no way we're going to be doing this. Like, we're not going to get out there and fly around with it raining on us. And I remember Kim, my wife, she was like, dude, are you going to be flying this morning? She texted me when I was driving over and I was like, doubtful, but we're having the meeting, our normal monthly meeting at the hangar regardless. And then once we found out that this was actually happening, we spent 30 minutes, Ryan, going through some safety stuff and kind of some quick aviation school, like you said.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a flight school as well.
Yeah,
and so Ryan's building the whole path along from getting your pilot's license to dipping your toe into the flying private to brokering a jet, etc., owning and maintaining the planes. But that early call this morning with the rain coming down, driving over in the dark, I'm like, we're not flying today.
No. It's not happening. And then it like came to, and then it was like, oh man, we are flying today. I was like, I'm not texting Kim and say it with like, hey, wish me luck. Cause she was kind of nervous. And quite frankly, I was a little nervous too. I've never been in a plane like that. I don't even like flying in general.
And that's where, to tie it back, pod isn't just to talk about what we're off to in our personal time. They're just Junto. But the theme for the day was building exceptional skills. Like trying to find things to be a complete human and really stretch on what type of skill sets we're trying to find and get out of our comfort zone, which it was 100% that for me. And it's been a long time, dude. I think it's the first thing I said to you when we sat back down was like, I'm going to talk about flow state. I've never been so focused, and I haven't been that focused in a long time. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, you almost have to be, because you're like, especially when you got, another one of your Junto brethren in the back seat, and you're like, oh shit, like there's more than just me here. I got a pilot next to me. I got this, Junto guy next behind. Like, I got to make sure I fly this thing. Like, how is this going to go? And it is so smooth. It's way smoother than I had imagined. Like,
Mark was more relieved when we hit the ground and landed than I was. He was, audibly relieved. And he said at the recording, he's like, I was scared. I'm like, you were scared. I just barely came back to consciousness. And obviously, I mean, when you look at it as a whole, yeah, we have a trained pilot next to us. Worst case, it's my controls. You let go and the actual pilot takes over the plane. But that feeling, it just made me realize, and I think was Strand's whole point, how often are we that far out of our comfort zone? When you're learning something so new, it takes over your nervous system.
Yeah. I think just to kind of describe the feeling and like what happened, like I'm like, you're driving along the runway, you're getting up to where you're going to kind of start your takeoff. And as we're cruising up, he's going through his protocols and going through things. And that's kind of like had a wave of emotion over me. Like, oh man, how did I get here? What am I about to be doing here? What's going to happen? And then I was like, dude, you're fine. You got a pilot next to you. Like, you just this happen. People do this all the time. And then you take off and you start picking up some massive speed. And then you feel like, he's like, all right, pull on the stick. Like, it's not like yank this thing. Like, it's just like a little,
Gotta have
just
touch, baby bird.
just a little baby bird touch, as Ryan said. And all of a sudden you're taking off, and like just having the control of that thing and just like feeling weightless in a way, and how smooth and quiet it was. And then to do a lap around Scottsdale and then to come back and do a landing procedure. Like, it was, flow state doesn't even describe, you were just like, it went like that. It flew by. I can
see why people get hooked. Like, it's dopamine overload. Like, and I had the pleasure of being up once before, but never had the controls. And I'm like, I get it, how people get hooked, how they get that taste. And it's like, you're just so alone up there. And we've talked about it before in the pod. I think I still get awe flying commercial. Like, I like looking out the window and know that we're cruising at 500 miles an hour in a metal tube, and like humans created this, and looking down. But it's so different when you're that isolated and with just a few or two or three people.
Yeah. And it's a whole nother world. And I think the coolest perspective that like I could describe it as is, not only does it feel like a whole nother world, but it takes you out of the little bubble that you're living in on ground. And just like, we're so condensed in these quote unquote big cities, but in the grand scheme of things, it's so condensed and tight, and we're just moving around like within a few miles. And then you get up in the air, and all of a sudden we're at 2,500 feet, and all of a sudden people start disappearing. And, that was the max that we got. But once you get higher and higher, like the cars start disappearing, like commercial, and then, you get higher and higher. And then all of a sudden you just have the opportunity to see the whole earth as it is. Like, there's so much mass, like just overlooking the valley was just like, it's huge. Right. And it just takes you out of that day to day almost of like the minutia of what is clogging up your day, and like the I guess I don't know what the word is, claustrophobia, or just like the tightness of it. You get out and above and look at it from 2,500 feet, and you're like, man, like it just brings this perspective. Like, there's so much more than what I see right in front of me when you are on this elevated experience.
As we were getting ready to go, I was just thinking about the things that we talk about in this podcast, defining success for yourself and trying to be an effective human, the fundamentals, and him going through the checklist. And everyone knows, like, this is used a lot in personal development or productivity, in that, like, get back to a simple, what is your checklist, your standard operating procedures? And everyone goes back to a pilot, and how they cannot do anything until it's done. Now it's digital. It used to be a paper. And we kicked off the year talking about our checklist for a sales process, depending on where we're at in the process during a sales cycle. And it was just like tying it back to, yes, even though you know all these things, right? You are not going from memory. You're still going back and making sure that checklist is complete, because you're dealing with life and death in this situation. But in our businesses and our projects, are we still doing that, having that same attention to detail to make sure we don't crash?
Yeah, totally. That was cool experiencing that, them going through the checklist. Like, and it's literally on screen now. It's digital, as you said, where it's like you can't move down until you actually press the button and say, yeah, I checked that. So he's like, boom, flaps. Yep, got it. Boom, this safety feature. Yep, got it. Boom, seatbelts. Yep, everyone's buckled in. Boom, like literally everything you can think of from a safety protocol. And then it's like, and then it turns green, and it's a check mark. And you're like, okay, we can move on. Even just testing the fuel injection and the engine, like everything, like making sure that it's all working properly, the spark plugs and all this, everything that it's working. You have this checklist, but we use it in our business too. Like you said, you have to use it. We have a whole QA process, which is like, quality assurance of when we set up a new client, we've got a workflow. We use a tool called Trello, and it's a checklist. And it's basically, when a new client comes on board, have we gathered everything we need to implement this client? That's the first checklist. Boom, 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 boom. Check it all off. Then it's, okay, as I'm building and setting up this new client, have we set up everything we need to? Company level data, employee level data, prior wage and tax data. If we reconcile it, it's like, there's 35 checkboxes. And then once we've set it up, then we have a whole QA checklist of someone else is putting a second set of eyes on the work that we've done to ensure the quality of our work. So that way it's a smooth setup for our client. So seeing that it really did remind me of exactly how we do it in our implementation in the business. And like, you have to, even though you can do this stuff in your sleep, I still have someone QA my builds and QA the clients that I set up personally, even though I can literally don't need to, but you never know. And there's times where they've caught things. It's like, oh, this is great. This is why we do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think like on the drive home, I was thinking about a lot on the drive home. One, I don't know who said this, but it was so true. They're like, yeah, it's like 3D driving as you are navigating the pitch in the nose and the left to right, which takes a second. We played enough video games to where it works. It does come kind of naturally, but the touch is different. I was thinking about that driving home, but the other thing I was thinking about is like, we got the instant gratification today. It was total instant gratification. We got the safety net of having the pilot, showing us what to do. That the landing was unbelievable, like having the sense that you're in control. But I was just thinking about all the work that those guys have done to get the instrument license. Ryan told us a lot about how you become basically a weatherman or a weather person. You have to know temperature, how it's going to impact takeoff and landing, the whole gamut. And we took all that for granted and got all the joys to get us hooked, But the amount of work like really had me kicking around going through an entire.
Right. You know what I thought was interesting too? So I spoke at a small business mastermind. Jason Payne, he was on our podcast early on too. He runs a mastermind here locally, owner of State 48 Roofing. He invited me to come in and speak to his members, talking payroll, culture, HR, scaling, onboarding, new hire, bringing on employees, setting yourself up on payroll as a business owner, all sorts of stuff, right? So I go in there, and one of the things that we were talking about was culture and how even though there's things that we do that seem like we've done a million times, but you take your team out and do that thing, the three words we were saying was it hits different. Like taking your team out to do something that seems normal to you, but showing your team an experience unlike any other, it hits different for them. And now they're bought into what you've got. They're bought into what you're doing. And so, for example, with the payroll business, we took the team out to a Suns game, and we had a guy and his wife come, a guy on my team and his wife come, and they'd never been to a Suns game in their entire life. And they were like, this is the coolest experience. How many Suns games have I been to? Right. And so like, it wasn't a new experience for me, but it was so cool for me to see how excited he was to go to a Suns game. Now, that was the exact same experience we got this morning, where Ryan, he's up in the air every freaking day. And it's a normal thing for him to just be flying around and jump on a plane to San Diego and go surfing or whatever. But for us, it hit different. It was like one of the coolest experiences ever. And like, I don't know how to describe when you can set someone to share an experience or something that you're really into that you think is somewhat normal, or you have no new feelings about it. You're just passionate about it. Continue to share those things with people who wouldn't otherwise think to do that, because it hits different. And it was a really neat perspective.
100%. And to your point there, what I think I love is this is awesome. The group's amazing. Like, we talk a lot about it. I'm sure the listeners are tired of hearing it, but what I love is seeing that group squirm, myself included. Yeah. Everyone, shows up with confidence and some swagger, and, we got life in check, but people were squirming today. We were there. There were some jokes, some and it reminded me of the cold plunge. Not even comparable, but same ideas. Like sharing something that's been impactful to you, and seeing the group like, oh, this is out of my comfort zone. I don't know about this. I get a huge kick about seeing the group with that energy.
I think the cold plunge is a perfect example, because that's normalcy for you, but for someone else, they've never done that. And I remember the first time I did it, I had a freaking like mini panic attack, right? Like, cause you're like trying to control your breath, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And even this morning, there was some nerves for sure. You've never done it. You don't know what it's going to be like. It's the uncertainty. It's the unknown. That's why humans are so afraid to challenge themselves, because they don't want to put themselves in those situations. And that goes back to when we kicked off this episode, is like, we're trying to build extraordinary skills that we may never use again, but at least it gives us the evidence to go forth and realize that we're capable. And so that's what was really neat about that. And I always appreciate you for the cold plunge, for Ryan for getting us on a plane, and just other things in your lives. Like, go take those risks, go take those challenges, because they're safe, right? You're with people that know what they're doing. And so perspective wise, it was really neat. I've been on fire and on cloud nine, literally in the clouds all day. And I can't remember the last time.
All the puns are intended.
Yeah, they are. And I can't remember the last time you've done something where you're just like, like, when's the last time you did something for the very first time ever? Right. Like at this time, we're like in our 40s now. It's like we've done almost most things at least once, you would think, or at least thought about it. Like, I mean, I know there's still a lot of stuff that we could do, but flying a plane, I've never thought in a million years I'd be flying a plane.
I think another thing that was really awesome when we talk about, the big impact culture has in an organization, you could tell that the team that Ryan's put together, that's a team that they love what they're doing and they live for it. They're really putting a product out that they live. And of course, Ryan's running the show. We're getting Class A treatment, but I know that's how he is building this thing. And the people that he has in place are pretty darn special to curate that experience.
Yeah, I think that 100%. He's got the buy-in from his team, but that's because Ryan's also very much involved in just one of those guys that's going to be like, hey, I got your back. You got my, like, it's not it's a lead by example for him as opposed to, hey, go do. Like you can tell they're just a group of guys that just love doing, getting up in the air and love doing what they're doing. But it's just sharing that vision and that culture. And, when you have the buy-in from your team, it's not even work. I bet you those guys love walking through that door every single day and they're just excited to be there. It's just life. It's not even about career or business. It's just, this is what we do. We fly planes. Like it's the coolest thing ever. And when you can get to that point and get your team to that point, it's like, this is life. This is what I love to do. It doesn't, who said it? Doesn't even, when you love what you do, doesn't feel like you're ever working a day in your life.
I think what's cool, Tim Cook put a spin on that and he said that's not the case. The work is still going, you'll never work harder than you have in your life, but the tools will feel light in your hands. And I'm like, that's a great spin on a. Yeah.
I remember, was your arm sore? Like, because you're grabbing the stick to left hand when you're driving or flying, driving, and then I was like, okay, how far do these things go? I was talking to the instructor, like how, where could we go with, one take? He's like, well, if it's all three of us, we probably have to stop and fuel to get to San Francisco. But if it was just two of us, we could get from here to San Fran on one tank or whatever. And I was like, well, do you ever you have to put this thing on auto? Like you can't be holding the stick the whole time because like my arm is like sore. Like I was like flexing. He's like, well, that's because you're grabbing it too hard. He's like, it's just, he goes, how like when you're golfing, you just have a nice, easy, you don't grip it and rip. Yeah. It's not grip and rip. And I was like, well, maybe that was a little bit of my anxiety, just holding on for dear life.
Dude, I was more concerned. I was thinking about the
pedals.
They're not pedals, but yes, I was like, your feet are flat on the ground. And then still making sure it had room to move on the left. Yeah. And I was like, I barely moved. I was almost like
frozen
like, besides
don't touch anything. Yeah.
Well, speaking of landed planes, is it time to land this one or is it?
Yeah, just about. One last thought is when you're holding this thing, like these planes specifically, how crazy was it to realize how touchy it is? Like you do just one slight movement to the right or one slight movement, like you pull back and the nose goes up, you push forward and the nose goes down, and you go to the right or the left, you twist your wrist right or left. It's just like you feel it, but
that first one, you're like,
oh shit! But you can recover just as quickly, and that's what's cool about it. Is like you're not really. You'd have to deliberately fuck it up. Like you could do some damage if you were forced yourself to do it, but you recover so fast that you wouldn't, right? And it's like it felt effortless to fly this thing. Like the way these things are built. Now it's like I couldn't imagine what it was like flying a plane 50 years ago. Like the technology in these things is unbelievable, and it was a really cool experience. But yeah, I think that's the pod. This is a short one.
If you're kicking it around at Astra in Scottsdale, Scottsdale Air Park, great team. If you've been considering it, highly recommend it. And we'll be. Yeah,
they'll get you licensed, and then once you're licensed, you can take those bad boys out on your own. Yeah, shout out for sure.
Someday.
All right, like, subscribe, follow. We got some new guests and new topics coming your way. Hope everyone has an amazing Thanksgiving. All right, cheers, y'all.